as I said earlier, if you're going to go into this regenerative paradigm, you have to have a look at what you're doing now. So if you have, for example, let's just use a grazing situation. If you have a set stocking methodology now, that is damaging the soil because you can see that your farm is not thriving. So that particular management practice has to be changed, and that's an easy one to change. The other one might be that you haven't got diversity in your pasture. I've only got, maybe have a little bit of clover. I've got some grasses. Where are the medicinal plants? Where are all of the so the next thing you can do is say, well, okay, maybe I need to look at changing my pasture composition. If you're using glyphosate, for example, to get rid of the weeds, remember weeds now are nutrients, so you stop using things like this. If you have an orchard or a vineyard and you've got clear ground, bare ground anywhere, Mother Nature doesn't have bare ground. So you say, okay, I've got to have 100% cover 100% of the time. So there are specific things that you might be doing now that are actually very simple to change. And so once you start to move those things that you can do easily, then the things that you need to do to then repair those situations, they'll all fall into place. The fourth thing I would look at in my list of priorities would be what is happening to the water when you get rainfall. Is it running off or is it being absorbed? Now, if it's running off, then it means you absolutely do have compaction and you need to aerate. And so if you can get those four things where you then rotate your herds, maybe get smaller paddocks so that you can rotate. Have a look at any bare patches, which means you've got compaction. And then particularly if you've got runoff as well, you've got compaction, and therefore get some aeration into your soil and get those multi-species in. As a grazier, they're the first things that I would do. And have a look at the contours of your property and get some shade belts in. They would be the first things I would do if you're wanting to go into a regenerative agriculture paradigm. If I had an orchard, if I was an orchardist, and this wouldn't really matter whether it was blueberries or grapevines or conventional orchards, or even when I think about it with olive trees or nut trees, almonds, for example. Again, the most important thing is what happens to the rainfall. Is it absorbed into the soil? If it isn't, then you require aeration. With some of these enterprises, it has been convention to keep bare soil under the vines, for example, or in the tree row. This doesn't work. This cannot continue. You've got to have a look at this 100% cover 100% of the time. And so you would need to then have a look at putting particular grasses or ground cover, natives, something, because there's another advantage of bringing ground cover plants in, is that when you go into a biological system, you want your predators there to get rid of any pests. Also, you need those plants as insectaries because you need your bees, pollination. So there's all these advantages. So if we say, make sure that you've got 100% cover 100% of the time, and it's not going to interfere with the water uptake of your plants, of your economic plant. It'll actually absorb the water and hold water so that you need less water. So 100% cover 100% of the time. Look at getting some multi-species insectary type plants across that area as your cover. Even if you have these, what you're thinking of weedy species, just keep them, but don't let them flower. but make sure that you get this ground cover. So in your orchard, in your vineyard, make sure that you have your ground cover and you have your insect-free plants, and you have your water being absorbed by getting that aeration in. And if you don't want to put a plow through, because like a yeoman's plow through, there are spikes. There are cylindrical sort of steel things with spikes in them, and you can pull them behind the tractor. That's enough to aerate and get moisture in. And then you can put your compost teas in, you can put your fish kelp and molasses in very easily. And you'll find that by feeding the microbiology, by aerating the soil, you're going to get a much better crop above the ground. If we're talking about a broad-acre farmer, in the past, it has been ploughing in or burning off the stubble after harvest. If we're going to look at a regenerative enterprise, then a lot of what I've said for orchards or for pasture is similar. But because the crop has to be planted on a regular basis, it's an annual thing, usually an annual crop, then it's been a practice to burn off the stubble or to and then to plow in. What you could look at doing, and what a lot of the farmers are now doing, is what we call pasture cropping. They're not getting rid of the intervening cover crop or whatever it is that they had put in by getting rid of it with glyphosate or anything. What they're doing is simply then growing it and then using machinery like crimpers that knock it down, for example, and produce the organic matter. Then go through with the planting tines that will plant the crop into what is now a very high quality bed of organic matter. But also, in doing that, in crimping, you're not losing the root system. You're not losing the mycorrhizal fungi that are giving you that water holding capacity that you lost in a previous, like the industrial agriculture methodology. So what you're doing is you don't burn off the stubble. To say that the reason for doing it is to kill off pathogens. The reason why you've got pathogens is because you haven't got any microbiology to knock those off anyway. So let the microbiology do what they know how to do. So stop burning. One of the things that you can do with the residue after the crop has come off is to knock it down if you want to, but at least go through with a compost tea, a highly fungal dominated compost tea, because this will break down that residue, that organic matter that's left standing there, because that's fungal food. Not bacterial food, that's fungal food because it's dry. So you can go through, then you can plant a cover crop of some sort if you wish. You then can knock that down, don't plow it in, just knock it down with a crimper, then go through with something again, like a yeoman's plow, and plant your new crop into it. And you'll find that the increased organic matter will give you a much better seed bed. You've got your microbiology functioning. And your cropping, your actual recovery cropping from whatever it is, wheat, barley, whatever, will go up by bushels per hectare because of that preparation that you've done prior to putting your seeds in.